From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not for Wednesday, December 3rd. We had snow this morning across western South Dakota. That will continue to move to the southeast. We'll try to bring in clearing skies. I should mention, too, flurries, light snow showers found across eastern and southeastern KELOLAND this morning. But as skies do clear and temperatures continue to fall during the day, we've already hit our highs in eastern South Dakota. 34 degrees, the high temperature in Sioux Falls just after midnight. 34, the high temperature in Sioux Falls yesterday, just before midnight. So you know what the story is with these falling temperatures. In fact, by 8 o'clock this morning, I think we're at 13. So we fell a good 20 degrees in about 8 hours. So we've had falling temperatures across eastern KELOLAND. As we continue to clear going into the overnight hours, we'll see if we could get some record cold to move through. For that to happen, these winds will have to become light, and that will be quick, too. It will happen rather quickly. Temperatures will continue to fall. We'll hit that overnight low probably during the sometime before sunrise, and then I think those temperatures will slowly warm the closer we get to daybreak tomorrow. We'll continue with these precipitation chances over the next several days ahead of this clipper that will move through for the first half of the weekend, and that may bring in a more widespread area of accumulating snows. That's something that we'll have to sort out as we go through our program today, and then we'll see what happens in the long-range forecast going out for the next 2 weeks. But don't be surprised for these ups and downs in temperatures to continue, and that will just keep our chances for precipitation around, too. Futurecast for today, clearing skies trying to work in as high pressure comes in from the northwest. As that happens, our winds will continue to die down. We'll look for clearing skies in eastern KELOLAND during the overnight hours. That, of course, will help our temperatures fall. And then during the day tomorrow, we'll quickly get a southerly wind, which will be healthy, especially in the northeastern South Dakota and western Minnesota, right along that Buffalo Ridge. We are looking at very strong southerly winds for tomorrow. Wind gusts over 40 miles per hour. We'll get to that in a bit. But here's a wintry mix that can come in later in the day for tomorrow in central South Dakota. As I mentioned, warmer temperatures will continue to come in, try to develop as that warm air comes in later in the day. We can see light precipitation in central to north-central South Dakota. That will move to the east, maybe a little bit of a push to the southeast. And then for Friday, it's a little freckled here on Futurecast, meaning that we could still see maybe these isolated snow showers, a light rain shower or two can show up as we do get into the afternoon and evening on Friday. That's ahead of a better chance for more widespread snow accumulation on Saturday. Being a clipper, it shouldn't be very heavy either. We're talking inch, maybe up to 3 inches for some of us. We'll try to pinpoint things, of course, as the day does get closer. And we'll be joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens to get his ideas to what to expect for this weekend as well. So for this afternoon, north winds averaging around 10, maybe 20 miles per hour, light tonight, and then they do pick up for tomorrow. Notice that area of red, northeastern South Dakota into western Minnesota. That's where we will have those strong wind gusts. Here's a closer look at that. It's even trying to bring in, see this brown color here? It's even trying to bring in some of these wind gusts of 50 miles per hour. So Lake Benton, on the snapshot of our wind gusts here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, may get up to 49. You see a 40-mile-per-hour gust in Watertown, 44 in Marshall. Not as strong as you make your way over toward the James River Valley, but still some gusty winds expected there. Even Sioux Falls may see a wind gust in the afternoon close to 40 miles per hour. But the area that we have here into parts of northeastern South Dakota, western Minnesota, that could be an area that does pick up on some blowing snow. So that will go across the roadways, give you a couple of slick areas here and there. Keep that in mind for the later part of the afternoon and evening drive in northeastern South Dakota and western Minnesota. For today, temperatures will remain steady or fall as we continue to go through the day. And then tonight, we'll watch those numbers plummet across eastern KELOLAND into the single digits and teens early, and then we'll slowly warm the closer we get toward daybreak. Coming up, we'll talk about that record cold in eastern KELOLAND. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Whether or Not. Record cold with a question mark behind it. There may be some areas that do set records in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. We'll see what happens with these temperatures. I'll explain the reason why I do have that question mark after cold. Because as we do take a look at some of these computer models, not all the models are agreeing with how cold we're expected to get. So we'll take a look at that coming up. But I think the best chance we have at seeing record cold showing up in Minnesota, Iowa, and parts of extreme southeastern South Dakota. So I highlighted those areas, much like what I did yesterday. These are the existing records, as we have 11 below in Marshall for a record, 13 below Worthington and Sioux Falls, 9 below in Spencer, 3 below in Yankton. The record in Aberdeen is 18 below. And our forecast is for, I believe, 15 below. As you see that forecast tonight in Aberdeen for 15 below. And then we'll see a light south wind, and that should allow the temperature to warm. Right now we're going 12 below in Sioux Falls, 11 below in Worthington, 14 below in Spencer, and 1 below in Yankton. So temperatures either forecast to come very close to setting records in southeastern KELOLAND. I showed this yesterday. I'll show this again. This is a look at the tomorrow morning's model forecast and just looking at the raw data for the American, Canadian, European models, and I went ahead and averaged those out. As you can see, they're all coming in with temperatures below zero, except for Yankton on the European. It only wants to fall to 1 above. It's not a misprint. That is 1 below above the forecast prediction there on the European model in Yankton. But still averages out to 7 below for temperature early tonight. Spencer down to 18 below, 14 below in Worthington, and 13 below in Marshall. That, again, are the averages for the overnight lows across eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. The reason why I put that question mark on the graphic, too, is not all of these models are saying that we will get this cold. There is that short-term model, the HER model, that is suggesting temperatures may stay above zero in southeastern South Dakota. So I think we have a lot of factors that will have to go into how cold we do get. We need to clear our skies. We need these winds to become light, and I think they will as we go through the day, the afternoon, evening. You'll notice those winds will become light, and temperatures will continue to fall during the day too. So we'll see just how cold we do get, but don't be too surprised to see some areas set records into eastern and southeastern KELOLAND as we do get into tomorrow morning. Coming up next, we'll be joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens, talk about these precipitation chances as these temperatures continue to go back and forth. And we'll take a look at several models for Saturday's Clipper, where it's trying to place the best chance we have at seeing accumulation. And Brian has some interesting photos to show us as well. That's coming up after the break. Stay with us. You're watching Whether or Not. Welcome back to Whether or Not. I mentioned right before the break, Brian, that you have some nice pictures to show.
Yes, the as we're calling it, the horror frost.
Okay,
I like to just call it Winter Wonderland.
That's a good. I like that term as well.
I don't know if I like horror frost. It kind of sounds like it's scary, but it is the name that it is in meteorology. But and then I found it funny at 5:30. You and the anchors got into the whole difference between rime ice.
Oh yeah, here we go. I should cut that clip.
Cloud physics and micro meteorology.
And I said, okay, hold on. We're just splitting hairs. Any way you look at it, it looks pretty.
It's all these technicalities, right?
Right.
There is a difference between rime ice and hoarfrost, but yeah, isn't this pretty though? The trees, and by the way, the frost. Look at how all of this stuff just coats everything, but it's very feathery. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference. The rime ice is more pointed, a little more dense. The density to it is a lot bigger deal. Let me see if I've got. Yeah. Oh, look at this. One. The little dendrites. When you take a picture, and
nice
everybody's camera. I mean, my camera is not that fancy, but it's so interesting when you use the macro view too. What you can get. I think I took another one. Let me see if I've got this. Oh, yeah, there's that one, too. just the whole. Then there's this. Whoops. I wasn't going to show this, but that's okay. The kitty cat video from yesterday. Did this make the runs? And it was on the air this morning when I came in of course, during the 5 o'clock segment. Evidently, I have a cat or two watching the broadcast.
You have a fan.
I have a fan.
You have more than one fan.
Listens better than our pets at our house. Viewer sent this in, though. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah. You know,
fun.
My dog Cooper, if there's another dog on the TV, he'll run after the TV. It's mounted on the wall, but we do have this stand in front of it, and he'll put his paws up on the stand and look at the TV if there's another dog.
Isn't that something with pets, though? Like dogs especially. I noticed that, too, with because we have our dogs usually in so our house, the way it's kind of set up, there's a kind of a split area. Sometimes we're in our the original house, and then we've got an addition. So we usually will watch television over there, but occasionally the girls will go watch a show over in the other portion of the house, and that's where the dogs are. So they'll put on a show, and the worst one is the old show. You remember Martha Speaks?
Yes. And there's a dog in there, right?
That's all it's,
the dog's name is Martha. It's
all about dogs. So it's terrible. Then my daughter Lily will come in and say, "Dad, I can't watch the show," and because the dogs will start barking right away. Isn't that funny? Little things like that.
And Melanie tells me that if I call and talk to her, Cooper may hear me on the other end of the phone. Mm-hmm. But when I'm on TV and I'm doing the weather, he doesn't do anything. But if he hears me on the phone, then he gets all excited. But
you would think they would pay attention to that. I don't know. Well, the time of day that we're on television, of course, this show being on the way it is in the later part of the day is helpful for that. But early morning, dogs are asleep and pets, they're not paying attention too much. But we are paying attention to the weather.
Yes.
And I know we need to circle back around since this is the whether or not show.
So we got rid of the or not part.
Yeah. And now we're talking a little more snow in the forecast. Probably enough here on Saturday, the Alberta Clippers. So we talk about Alberta Clippers from time to time during the winter. And so it looks pretty likely that this one will come through on Saturday, and it'll produce a ribbon of snow to the left of the storm track. So you've got...
Do you have that graphic up for you?
I do. Okay. I think it's on here.
Then I'll run through a couple of models.
Yeah, and so this is just kind of a hand-drawn map. And, you know, if you look at the modeling this morning, and I know you're going to show this in a second, but it looks like probably right through Sioux Falls is about as good as any spot, probably down the middle of that blue line or blue patch there that runs from eastern Montana all the way into Illinois. So it's going to be a long, stretched-out system. Not major snow, but what you typically get with an Alberta Clipper is a few hours of some pretty decent snowfall rates, and then they're fast movers. So they move in, they move out, and then it gets a little cold after they move through. So that's why our Sunday forecast is several degrees colder right now.
Yeah, we have temperatures in the teens for Sunday, and we may have numbers probably in the 20s, 30s on Saturday. The Clipper moves through. I'll run through a couple of the models and what they're thinking. This is the Euro AI, and it does have that bullseye here across parts of southeastern KELOLAND, and we'll run through the regular European model run here. You could see how that one is trying to show up a little bit farther to the north, Brian. But you know what we did before? We were able to move that ourselves. In fact, let me see if I can get into this graphic system. And I'll bring this up, and we can move that as to what we're thinking. If we want to move that a little bit farther to the south, we sure can.
Yep. It's quite a little button there, isn't it? You can move that around. And here's the thing, too, about this. When people ask us, well, how much snow are we talking about? So by definition, most of the time, Alberta Clippers, a lot of these end up being 1 to 3.
Yes.
That's kind of my default.
That's a good average.
Yeah. Now, the one in November, the second weekend of November, at my house, I had a little over 4. I had about probably 4.5 out of that Clipper. So you can get more. The biggest Clippers, over 25 years of forecasting, I remember a few of them, where it come through and then like we get 3 to 6. That's a really big one. If if it's really has its act together.
And you have some moisture available, it may not move through as fast. kind of sits in Nebraska as it moves into maybe western, southwestern Iowa. That's a good location for us to get better accumulation anyway.
Yeah. Or sometimes, too, these things will become a hybrid storm, so they're not, truly a clipper. They kind of manifest themselves a little bit differently. But at this point, it seems like we settle in here probably more in that nuisance category. But, a nuisance snow that's falling Saturday afternoon versus the overnight, I mean, that's a big player, too. The timing on things like this makes a big difference because everybody's got plans for the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fully aware of that.
A lot of shoppers probably trying to get out of the town, maybe going to different cities to do some shopping, too. So you have to pay attention to the weather, just like what we had last weekend.
Well, right. And when weather hits on the weekend or, a busier shopping window, I know that is something people pay attention to. So we're not advertising this as a major snowstorm. It is not that, but it is what you've got there on the marquee. Accumulating snow on Saturday. And I see you've got the Canadian model, which I can tell you the raw data there is probably a little bit on the higher end.
I was going to say, that's one of the heaviest models that I've been following during the week. Just to throw a number out, why not? I think last I saw was around 4.5 for Sioux Falls.
Yep.
And it was as high as 5 or 6, I think, earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And it still is trending to be the higher model when it comes to snowfall amounts for Sioux Falls.
Right. So,
that goes in line with what you said, getting, isolated 4-inch amount.
Yep. And that's where I would probably say, that there's definitely merit to that idea that we could get a couple of 4-inch totals. So if you're trying to shovel or just thinking about the weekend, you get to 3 or 4 inches of snow, you have to move it. So there's a logistics component to that as well, Scott.
So it's a little messy.
Yeah, definitely that.
And as these temperatures go back and forth, it will continue to be a little messy with our forecast. We have that even leading up to the weekend clipper that we just talked about. We'll have more details on your long-range forecast coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. It's time to talk about the long-range forecast, which, Brian, it usually just takes us out, we'll say, 2 weeks. Because that's what the model data does that we're able to show, can go out as far as, say, 2 weeks. We'll take a look at maybe some of that information. And I think this back to forth temperature trend will probably continue. Not that we'll see, prolonged cold temperatures or prolonged warm temperatures. They just continue to go back and forth.
Yeah, and those kind of details, we know the pattern, so now it's going to be the little details that we'll be working on in the extended forecast. But you look at this northwest flow, this is exactly what we've been talking about. We're going to get shots of cold, but rebounding quickly, and that's why you're going to see those temperatures going back and forth on the 7-day forecast. And we get into next week, so since we're talking about the extended forecast, notice the upper air patterns and where these arrows, when we look to the northwest up towards Seattle and Portland, this is a pretty big deal because we're going to start to see an onshore flow big time. I mean, that's as obvious as it gets. Look at that. That's a fire hose coming right out of the Pacific. That air comes across the Rockies. It modifies, and what do we end up with? 50s in western South Dakota.
I'm glad you said where.
Yeah.
50s in western South Dakota.
50s in the west. Now, we'd have to melt snow.
Melting in the east. How's that?
Right. It's a process. And we've worked here long enough to know that contrast will still be there. But you'll be surprised, too, at how much snow we can chew and really work on the next few days, next week. And really, it's, modeling depends which, data run you look at. But honestly, Scott, I think there's an opportunity to melt snow off and on, at least for the better part of next week. So if we're not above freezing every day, look at that. I mean, that map tells you a lot.
As long as we can bring in sunshine. We've been through days before where we do have these warmer temperatures coming in, self-destruct sunshine with, we'll build cloud cover as we start to heat the air and rises, and then we're able to get some cloud cover to form rather easily. That is something we'll have to watch. Depending on our winds, we could get some of these foggy mornings that can last right into the afternoon, too.
I'm glad you said fog.
That's the problem we face when we get into December, January, and even lasting into February when we're trying to melt some of the snow as the warmer temperatures start to come in.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when you see a map like this, you'll think, oh, wow, that's huge warmth. But I've seen this too and you have as well, where you'll see this warm lid will come over the top of the snow cover and it insulates, and then you're trapped. And all that cloud cover and all the moisture traps in the low levels. So there's a lot more to it. You have to have everything working on all cylinders to get the air to move, to get the little amount of sunshine, and it's December. So it's not a big warming month. But can we be in the 30s? Yeah, I think so. And then we'll melt some snow. It'll get slushy at times. So
we need mixing. We need to mix that atmosphere up. Like a blender. That's what you say during the morning shows.
Wind and mixing, you bet. That's one of the keys.
So the snowfall outlook here going over the next 2 weeks. This is off the European. It picks up on that clipper for this week, and the placement of that is across north central, eastern South Dakota, western Minnesota. Would not be surprised if that placement actually ends up being a little bit farther to the south. And then as we go through time, that's about it for accumulating snows. That's the way it looks right now. I would not be surprised, Brian, as these temperatures do go back and forth, if we get these little hits of snow from time to time, but the accumulation won't add up to too much. But we will have to watch for these wintry mix chances, which will eventually lead to some slick areas.
Yes, so it's just a hodgepodge of some miscellaneous things in the upfront forecast, but yeah, as long as we're steering our winds from the northwest, the pattern, the modeling, I think, is doing a pretty good job of picking up on the general trends. And you'll see a few variations from time to time, but yeah, the next week or two, not overly stormy.
No,
which is good in my book.
Especially when we're talking December. A lot of people do have plans.
Oh,
but,
it's like the second
holidays.
May. It's so busy in December.
Yeah, it's
you
like
have
graduation month.
all these things that go on in December. You've got Christmas shopping and then end of the semester break, all the things. So hopefully the weather cooperates.
And if it doesn't, we'll be here to tell you about it.
And there'll be times where it won't, I'm sure, Scott.
Oh, yeah. It is winter in KELOLAND after all. That's the time we have for this latest edition of Whether or Not. I want to thank you for joining us and have yourself a great day.